You're listening to Raising Anchor on 990 WBOB. Welcome to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show with Matt Entrigan and Jason Carey. Your home for news, analysis, and everything Rhode Island FC. Each week, they take you inside the locker room, inside the tactics, and inside the storyline shaping RIFC. Now, here's Matt and Jason.
Do you remember when we were just 7 days away from the home opener where we were going to get to see the mighty Amber and Blue take on their first opponent of the season, and then said, hey, what if we didn't do 7 days, but we moved it to 14 days? And now, as of this recording today, we're back to 9 days and counting. What's going on, and how are you doing, my friend Jason?
I'm doing pretty good. I was confused when I realized it was March today. But did you see that, the Yellow Power Ranger is about to become a potential owner? I'm really confused, too, about how all of this is going down, because I thought that relationship was no more, but maybe it is.
I didn't know Power Rangers were allowed to be owners of the club. Does Rhode Island owe you, as the Blue Ranger, at least one share? I don't even know if they do shares, or do you owe like $5 to own less than a percent of Rhode Island FC?
I don't know how that works. I'll have to see what we can figure out here.
I do agree. Going back to it, so the news for the uninitiated who don't follow either the Power Rangers or Da Boy, big news this week coming out of Monterey Bay FC as Sebastian Lletget, one of my favorite players that I've ever gotten to watch in the MLS, now is going to be both a player and some kind of expanded ownership thing that will be happening.
The David Beckham treatment in USL kind of thing.
He could, I think Didier Drogba already got that, so we would call it the Didier Drogba from Phoenix Rising. But to your point, the more confusing thing was seeing also that Becky G would be having some sort of invested interest, potentially ownership along with it. And I love that everyone in the chat was basically saying, as this all got announced, Becky G and Sebastian Lletget are still together. How did that happen? But we are not a hashtag MLS soccer show. So
yeah, a Becky G podcast. What's your favorite Becky G song?
We do not need the millions of Becky G fans to come after us right now, my friend. That's dangerous territory.
Baile con mi ex is mine.
You go to Puerto Rico for 4 days and you're already getting into the bilinguals. Listen, this is going to be a great show. We got lots to catch up on. We didn't have a Monday show because we were down in Puerto Rico trying not to get sunburnt. And, the news kept changing and wasn't happening and then was happening. So we got lots to catch up on and lots to get ready for as we power through and continue on to just 9 days away from seeing Rhode Island FC now take on their new home opener opponent in Sporting Jacks as an expansion side. But let's get things here squared away and start talking about the bomb cyclone that was dropped last Friday after it was announced that the Brooklyn FC preseason match that was going to be opened to the season ticket members was going to be canceled. We had heard rumblings earlier in the week, having talked with club staff, that the game was in serious jeopardy of being available because the stadium hadn't quite been cleaned up yet. They needed to make a priority, Jason, to make sure that we would be ready for the March 7th game, and had made the decision very last minute to say, hey, we can't have this game. Unfortunate that season ticket members didn't get to come out. I know a lot of them did show up at the bar event for Defiance at the Guild, but it was kind of like, wait, hold on, there's more. Right on the heels of the announcement that the Brooklyn game was going to be canceled, we find out that the home opener getting moved from its opponent of Loudoun United to all the way to October 14th. Jason, they're moving this game from a Saturday debut all the way down to a Wednesday midweek game at the end of the season, where who knows where we'll be at the table at that point in time.
Does this mean that the team is going 2 weeks without a competitive match, or?
So I in my conversations with the organization, they did not play Brooklyn FC. That game was completely canceled, at least for that day. I did ask, would another opponent be made, and found they didn't have an answer at the time, because remember now, while it is preseason still for us as we go into our third bye of all of our seasons, we've now not played in the first week of USL Championship play in all 3 seasons that this club has been around. First, of course, the first game at the Burn Stadium, our temporary home. Second time around with that away leg where we didn't get to play in Centerville Bank Stadium until construction was completed and finalized. And now Mother Nature getting in the way of making sure we just don't see action in that first week. It's hard to say. I don't know what they'll be able to do to actually get a competitive match inside that space. Ironically, when you look at it too, if you think about, like, people were asking questions and I was getting DMs like, oh, was this a 4D chess move by Kano and the company of, we all knew the strike was coming. And so they're just getting ahead of it by not even worrying about playing their first game. Some people were saying, oh, the weather can't be that bad. Like the snow can't be that bad around the stadium. But it absolutely was. Like the whole reason the game was postponed was because of fan and player safety around how much snow still needs to be removed. I know the rain, I know the hotter temperatures have kind of helped, but they didn't have enough information at the time to be able to make that decision. And did you see the amount of snow piled up in the M7 lot where the Apex pyramid is? Like, that is a monstrous effort in and of itself. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't know if will have an opponent that they can actually field a professional team, because a majority of these teams will be playing. Maybe I'll have to see if this USLPA strike or lockout does now happen as it gets dangerously close to the 11th hour. But if all things are held, there's a really good chance that there's no competitive team that they can actually play against to, cut their teeth as they prepare for their home opener.
I also think about what Travis mentioned when you talked to him recently. The team doesn't have a lot of data for home games in March, and now they're getting even less. I mean, they probably didn't take this decision lightly. It was record downfall for snow, so kind of is what it is. The other thing, though, that I think about here is that Loudoun went through an off season, right? Brian Martin is gone, and they also lost a lot of players. They've been kind of a bogey team for us, and I think this was actually the perfect opportunity for us to kind of, I don't want to say like sucker punch them like right off the bat in the first of the season, but I think this could have been a good opportunity for us to get a positive result against them. Now at the end of the season, I mean, that gives them plenty of time to figure out their identity, and who knows what they'll be by then.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Loudoun had one of the lowest retention rates going in from the 2025 season to 2026. And like when you look at the other teams that suffered similar fates of that kind of retention, you're talking about massive reconstructions like the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which I don't think Loudoun has replenished its talent pool as much as some of these other rebuilds. So it's completely true. I mean, you look at a team that we could have maybe gotten the jump on them, and when we talked, a little bit before we started the show, we were thinking like, what does that schedule ease look like? There's some tough opponents coming up. While we have not yet ever beat Loudoun, we kind of thought this was the kickstart to what we would see be a really thunderous campaign. Now that's removed off the board. We're left with the unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get in an expansion side from Sporting Jacks in that perspective. But look at the rest of these teams. Look at the points available. You've got Louisville away. You've got Sporting Lexington away. You've got Detroit, Miami away. Like then Charleston. Like where do you see us collecting points in this space now? If I thought we'd get 3 points out of this match. This felt right. Now, how many points is the right number that you think we should be looking at from the first 5 matches?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Like you look at it, 2 of the highest power ranking teams there off the bat. I mean, maybe there's 6 to 9 points available there somewhere. It's really hard to say until we actually see the ball being kicked, which who knows if that's going to happen this weekend. We can, it'd be easier maybe after this weekend. If assuming the games happen, we can do a little bit of research on opponents, see how they, come out of the hibernation and really get a good idea where to go from there. But then, I mean, Charleston coming up on top of that, bookending 5 games, Tampa pretty quickly after that. It was like, this could be a little bit of another one of those, like, is this another tough start to the season? I don't know.
Which we know Kano and the technical staff have said in multiple conversations with media at this point, it was all about starting with the right momentum. It was taking all of these things that were no longer disruptions to the plan, right? The stadium construction, the team finally gelling in its permanent forever home. This was supposed to be a launch pad that was going to catapult them into an earlier set. I looked at the numbers from 2025, Jason. We only had 4 points in the first 5 matches. Now, looking at this lineup, where do you see us land for a point breakout? What is right, or what should we consider successful out of these first 5 teams that we face?
I think if we can, 4 is not very much. So I think if we can get 9-10 points, I think we can feel pretty good coming out of that. Especially like, think about how long it took us to start and how like where we ended last year. I think that would be a strong start to the season.
Yeah, I think anywhere 6 to 9 is kind of what I'm seeing. Not to say, the thing is, there's no punching bag teams anymore, right? Like when we first kind of started following this league, it felt like there were teams that were just freebies. It was just here's 3 points to add to the tally. This league
every
is
week Miami FC was just gifting points to people,
and now we couldn't even beat them in one of our games this last season. The league is evolving, which is a great thing from a sporting merit and a sporting performance. I think we can still find 6 to 9. I think there are some beatable teams in here. Loudon, is probably one of the last boogie teams, like you said. It's them in Pittsburgh that we've never really seen a result that we want. So I think this is possible, but it's going to be a much higher and tougher climb as we go into these now first few games. Want to ask the last thing, though, does that even matter if we talk about points, or does it just matter that since Hartford is opening their season with Sporting Jacks and now Rhode Island is also doing it, is that the only tone we have to set in doing a, brother to sister comparison across the table?
Yeah, as long as we get a better result than they are. I mean, that's how the important part, right?
That's all I think most fans would care about at that point. But hey, listen, one thing we do want to mention, just as like kind of, let's call it housekeeping. If you did buy tickets, whether you're a season ticket member or you bought individual tickets for the March 7th opener, they will automatically be valid for that October 14th rescheduled date. So if you need to do any kind of adjustment, we highly encourage you to talk to the front office, talk to the ticketing staff to make sure that something else can be done. Obviously, not everyone's going to be able to make that work for their schedules. I'm thinking especially of like families, like midweek games. We talked to Travis and he said like that's one of the things they target. They know how difficult it is for families. So make sure you reach out to the ticketing team. That's either tickets at rhodeislandfc.com, or you can call them directly at 401-839-4950 if your ticketing rep hasn't already reached out, which again, check your emails because I'm sure they've already asked that. But hey, listen, we've got to go to break, and when we get back, it's the moment fans have been waiting for this entire preseason. RIFC finally unveils its 2026 home kit. We're going to react live here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Thank you for listening to tonight's broadcast, powered by Sprout Coworking. For all your business needs, large or small, visit sproutcoworking.com. Powering 990 WBOB, that's sproutcoworking.com.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
Rhode Island FC released the Capelli Sports Surge Kit yesterday, which will serve as the club's primary home kit for the 2026 season. The second home kit in club history, and the fourth kit to be worn by field players. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's no Dell's Providence City FC kit. Did you see that rendering?
That's beautiful.
I know, like, Providence City FC has been doing incredible things with local businesses and local strategies for a long time. What hurts me about seeing that isn't that they are doing it better, because it's not about that. It's that's now taken off the board. We can't really ever go do that without now saying like, oh, your copy or our homework. So we almost need to reach out to Providence City FC and be like, what is it going to take for you guys to not deliver such incredible like it's just it's too good.
We got to let them do their thing.
I know they got to make money, but I think maybe we should sign whoever designs their kits. Maybe we bring them over to Rhode Island's offices.
Just like you look at Indy doing crazy fun kits like the corn cob kit, I mean, which is just absolutely insane. And you think, well, other USL teams do it. Why can't we have some fun kits too? But
hey, listen, we're still a young club.
Yeah,
there's plenty of time. But I would say this now, I would buy both. But if I was told one or the other, I would pick the Dell's kit. But let's get into this talking about the Surge kit. You asked me my impression. I almost just want to spin it back on you because I feel like I might be a little bit of a Debbie Downer here, especially after I saw how you rated your kits versus what I did. So I'm going to let you start, and then you wax poetic or don't wax poetic, and then I'm going to jump in with my one thought.
Yeah, so right off, I'm just going to drop my tier ranking, and I'm just only ranking the like field kits, right? Goalkeeper kits don't really have names. That purple kit is beautiful, but then we have 2 that are both just similar shades of yellow. Like,
I mean, first season we had 4
Yeah.
Capelli goalkeeper kits. We only saw the black one, I think, one time.
So I'm just excluding that for this purposes. But for those listening, I have Road kit here as the number 1. Beautiful kit. Then I have the Energy kit, the Surge kit, and the Wave kit. And that's my initial impressions. I don't dislike any of our kits. That's just, I haven't seen the Surge kit in person too. So this may change, but based upon initial impressions, this is how I'd rank them.
Okay, it's wrong, but I appreciate you doing it. The correct order is the Road kit, then the Wave kit, then the Energy kit, and then the Surge kit. Now, I know the Wave kit is cursed. I'm not going off of our performance luck with it, but it is a beautiful it's a beautiful call out and shout out to the state license plate. And I didn't think I'd like the white kit at first. I do like that one now more than any of these. But like you said, I don't know what the Surge kit looks like in person. I did see this kit, and I told people online, and I'll kind of get into it, that it looked like a replica. And listen, I'll get straight into it. I think that this kit looks like the Spokane Velocity. It's a Capelli kit. It's a similar Capelli kit. I'm not saying that it's a retread, but when it's the same manufacturer and it's like, was this the best kit?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely more that maybe you could wish to see, but at the very top, you do see a lot of the same teams who will have Adidas or Nike or whatever, like just have same versions of different kits.
The
right?
Adidas kits are terrible sometimes. Yeah.
I don't know, some of those World Cup ones. Have you seen
I'm talking like the MLS,
like the basic
ones.
ones. Yeah, no, those
templates suck.
Those are no fun. But at lower divisions, like you see that a lot more teams get a lot more fun with their kits, and I mean, part of that, the reality is that it's like that fashion, that streetwear, that people want to just rep it, like in public, even when you're not in games.
So for people that are not, they're only our audio listenership, I have a picture of the Spokane Velocity kit and the new Surge kit side by side, and like people have said it's similar, but it's
looks
not
like
enough.
It's flipped almost
like this. That's it right there. If you can't imagine it, I've now flipped the Zephyr kit or the Velocity kit, excuse me, and I think we can draw some similar comparisons. Listen, I don't hate it, and I know I got to be really careful about not wanting to punch down on something until I touch it with my hands. And so, like you said, I hope I enjoy this kit. It just doesn't give me the same warm and fuzzies like the other 3 kits that we've released so far. So if this is the worst kit that they ever release, this is still far superior to some of the stuff that the league has put out and other teams have done. It's just, I don't know. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, for me, I already like it a bit more than the Wave kit. Like I said, I don't dislike any of our kits. To me, the waves are not, I personally want them pronounced a little bit more. They almost look too invisible. And it's also just a personal thing. I'm not a huge fan of white kits.
Yeah. And I mean, also
they just get dirty too easily.
If people know me, I'm a glass half empty guy all the time. So I'm never going to be satisfied with anything.
But are we still the amber and blue? I mean, I don't see any amber on there. It's blue and blue.
So I don't know if this has been lost in like the chaos of releasing the kit and building the teaser, but in the press release, reading it out loud, Rhode Island did announce that the Wave kit would be replacing the Road kit as the club's 2026 away kit for the season. So we reported at the beginning that a new home kit was coming, but what we did not know, and it seems like that has now been confirmed, is that the Road kit has now also been retired. So to your point, we might not even be the amber and blue any longer, as I'm not quite sure what's going on from that space and time. We may never see that kit outside of maybe a special match, a community match. I mean, people were having a hard time finding them as they started to go on clearance, but the Road kit may have already seen its last game and we didn't know it.
That's unfortunate. I just think to like the team colors, if you will, right? Like generally it's always good to rotate things, try out new colors and whatnot, schemes, and don't limit yourself to only ever making amber and blue. But to go out to the season with no potential amber, just not
and
sure how I
especially
feel
with
about
the logo's
that.
the logo's not even has any amber in it for this season.
Yeah, you could argue that you put it there, but they just went for different shades of blue, which is definitely cool. I enjoy the colors of the kit, But
listeners are tearing us apart on the rankings. We're getting eaten alive right now. Gregory has an interesting update. Spoke to the pro shop yesterday. The new kits are not splashy, but I like the color. They no longer come in 3XL. Quite disappointed that they are limiting the sizes this year. I currently own all previous ones in a 3X because they fit well with my build. Gregory, I am also a big guy trying to do something about it, but I'm right there with you. And that's a bit of an alarming thing to hear. You'd think the club would want to do something about that. Maybe that's something that they can work on and we can find out an answer later. Sometimes as they get reprints or additional batches, maybe we can find out and do some reconnaissance on your behalf. But speaking of the kits, a couple things that we want to make sure are, again, more just information that gets out there. If you are going to pre-order the kit online, and you're a season ticket member, don't do it until you've read your season ticket member email. There are some customization offerings and some other information that you will absolutely want to go through before you pull the trigger and make sure that you get those kits. I was also told that there's a goal that the kits will be available for purchase before the first game. Originally, they said that there was probably going to be some pop-up hours within the club store to be able to buy the kit ahead of the match. Don't know if they're able to still commit to those timelines as everything is shifting now all the way back from, the reshuffle at the top of the organization now down to this inclement weather disruption. So look for some information to come out from the club if that's possible and you want to get a jump on it, but don't just go and immediately race to the website. Apparently so many people saw it right out the gate that they surged to the website and took it offline, Jason. You couldn't buy them for a while there. So I like it. I like the name. I always forget that there's lightning bolts in the bottom of the anchor, which is why we stick to these energy themes. I think bolts might, if we're not always the amber and blue, I think bolts and some sort of lightning may be something we have to be prepared for as a custom part of it. And it's just perfect with our Rhode Island Energy sponsor that we have on the back because everybody loves Rhode Island Energy.
Absolutely everyone.
All right, well, we are going to get to our second break, and when we return, we have yet another new signing that's landed in the amber and blue, fulfilling what feels like is a new tradition here with the club, all here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Fans, as the weather becomes more and more unpredictable, be sure to check out 990 WBOB's weather page for all your temperature, storm, and travel info. Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store with the 990 WBOB weather page.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
Rhode Island FC has announced their 8th player to join the Amber and Blue for the 2026 season.
Yeah, it's Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso, right?
Yeah, everyone's getting in. We're kind of all, it's like, like a draft. Everyone's picking someone.
So we joking, and I know we're going to get to the announcement in a second, but one, Danny Rojas signing for a club in the championship is good marketing. Like we saw what the Ted Lasso effect was on the soccer landscape of the country and its intention or its desire to be a little bit more curious about it. I don't know exactly what he's trying to do out of this. Like, I think Cristo Fernandez, I don't know if he's looking for a certain level of competition because he hasn't just trialed with USL clubs. He trialed with the Chicago Fire too. I'm not sure what this is all yet. And I'm remaining curious, but not bagging Danny Rojas and having, like, the league should just force a club to sign him. Like, whether or not he gets a lot of playing time, that's a different decision, but you can't get these kinds of stars in it. But in addition to Danny Rojas, by the way, have you seen all the MLS signings that are kind of like starting to join in on the league because there's just not as much time left? Like, players are going through trials with their MLS counterparts, not landing that contract, and now looking to Division II as a potential. We talked about Sebastian Lletget at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I think it's also a good sign of the competitiveness that we kind of also mentioned earlier on, talking about how there's not as many bottom feeder teams anymore. The league is getting stronger, more competitive, so it's definitely an option for MLS players who maybe want to still stay and play domestically and play at a higher level than something like MLS Next Pro.
Agreed. So we'll have to see. I mean, this player that we're about to talk about is not a former MLS player, was a part of the Super Draft, but let's get right into it and talk about our newest signing.
Yeah, Rhode Island FC announced Monday it has signed defender CJ Williams for the 2026 USL Championship season, pending league and federation approval. The 22-year-old signs with the Ocean State Club after a successful 4-year collegiate career at Boston College, where he was a regular starter throughout his career. CJ is a well-rounded defender who brings valuable experience at a young age, said Rhode Island FC head coach and general manager Connell Smith. His extensive collegiate experience will add important depth to our back line. A former teammate of Amos Shapiro-Thompson back in 2022, Williams was a mainstay in the heart of the Eagles' defense, starting 52 of his 55 career games and logging 4,332 minutes. During his senior season in 2025, he led a defensive unit that kept 6 shutouts, going the full 90 in 7 of his 8 final games.
So, one, I love the fact that there's already synergy between him and Amos Shapiro-Thompson. I think that's always a fun thing. AST was the captain of that 2022 squad. I didn't know enough about Boston College, and honestly, I don't know enough about the collegiate game, especially within New England, but I did do some research ahead of this and started looking at where Boston College ranks in the ACC. They have a very tough division. They have like Syracuse, they have Clemson, they have Duke. Like, this is a school that is punching at a very, I won't say they're punching above their weight, but like they're holding on a lot of the times. Boston College, not necessarily a program that often does very well in their conference, but interestingly enough, from a defensive side of things, they are usually pretty stingy about allowing goals in. I would say if you look at the macro for Boston College, just not knowing enough about the program and all, they have a goal scoring problem, less so a goals against problem. So that feels like, Jason, as a perfect opportunity or segue for a player like CJ Williams to come in. But this is basically CB number 8, right? This is our Nathan Messer. This is the Cole Dewhurst. Is this now a tradition? Like, do we have to hold Kano accountable that we have to sign at least one New England college defender every season?
I think it's important for a team to really feel tied to its community to make sure that it does have representation at that level. Whether or not those players ever able to really crack into that first team, that's kind of just going to come with the talent, right? If the talent's not there, it's still good to see us support and like continue soccer development in the area. Likely, you said, though, it's unlikely that we're actually going to like see him. This is most likely rotational depth here, developmental minutes to kind of help out with training. He's probably not too far off, though. Comparing
like if you had a Messer versus a Dewhurst, where does he fall on the defender signing scale?
I'd say he's more ready than Dewhurst. Maybe not at Nathan Messer level, especially not yet, considering the last 2 years, his career trajectory. But Williams feels like he could do well in this league. I actually watched a lot of Boston College highlights of him. He's got a physical profile. He's very strong in defense, comfortable taking on players, dribbling past them and pushing forward into the midfield, making passes, even making runs at time. Looks like he's got a decent amount of speed to him. So there's potential here for, someone down the line to develop into a reliable USL championship center back. And the reality is, even if these players aren't for us, if we can then move them on, it shows the quality that this team offers and will continue to be a destination where collegiate players want to come.
It becomes that springboard. I agree. I do think that if we don't see Williams in some capacity make meaningful contributions and we end up letting him go, which kind of seems to be par for the course with this position, I do see him being a reliable USL defender, maybe not making the immediate jump to championship, but I don't see any reason why this other Williams, which, to be clear, because I did get someone asking in the mailbag, is he related to JJ? Because now we have a JJ Williams and a CJ Williams. And I said, maybe. I mean, anything is possible, but I did not see it in his player profile. I know last week with Logan Dorsey and, his brothers, Griffith Dorsey, but not necessarily the case here. So that probably will be one of the first questions is, do we have like a Williams brothers Malachi crunch situation that's about to happen? But no, you're right. I watched I think we probably watched the same tape. It is always exciting to see a defender when they are the last line of defense, like they're the last man standing, not do the safe pass and just, recycle it back to the keeper. And maybe it's because it was his own highlight reel and he found the best ones, but there were enough times that I was uncomfortable watching him.
He loves to pull in defenders. Like he's playing on prime Barca or Manchester City, where they want to push that ball forward past that striker, past the press.
Yeah. So his ball handling was good. Good feet work. And then also too, though, his distribution, again, his own highlight reel. So obviously you're going to make yourself look really good, but his distribution was pretty solid. So if we do see him in some emergency capacity, which I hope does not happen from an injury perspective, I think that we may be actually in some pretty good feet, if you will, seeing this guy take on some meaningful time, or at least meaningful roles and responsibilities with Rhode Island FC. Little final back story on him. He is a product of both the New York City FC and Red Bull's academy systems. So again, I almost wonder, like, does he have like the same experience? Like, because that's the Stephen Turnbull school of thought there. That's Rio Hope Gund as well. We could see a very similar cohesion very quickly in this depth signing. I'm really excited about it, and to see kind of what happens there as the season moves on.
Yeah, I mean, he even got selected in the super draft for the New England Revolution. Ultimately decided to end up going back to college and continuing playing there, as he wasn't offered a pro contract. But clearly, people have seen that there's something there.
Yeah. And honestly too, like you said, there isn't a player that has, I would say, there's been no backslide in the quality of players, that even if they have not yet played or they no longer play with Rhode Island, like look at, and what player would you say is probably worse off now than they were playing for Rhode Island? I have one that I think of, but I think every other player, whether they're in the championship level or they're in USL 1 level, they're all thriving for the most part. Like and I'll just say it's Prince Sadie. But you could also argue that he was on the back end or the twilight of his career
kind of towards the end of his career. I mean, I guess you could look maybe too at Doyle, but that was more of a gamble from a career perspective, moving to another country, just trying out a different league. Like,
but he then went on to win the USL 1 championship. Yeah. So I mean, I honestly, I don't think there's been a bad signing. There have been signings that did not work out long term for us, but I think almost every player that Kano seems to find in his network, they all seem to do exceptionally well, and I have no reason to think anything less of the newest Williams.
Yeah. So now with that signing, RIFC now has 24 players under contract for the 2026 season. Comparing this to the 2025 roster, where we started 23 players, 5 of them were injured. Does it feel like Kano's not waiting for mid-season tinkering? Do you feel like this is, in some ways, compared to what we know against previous, is this the best possible like lineup going into a season without knowing that there's injuries all of a sudden that could be that we're not aware of?
Yeah, well, I mean, one, I looked at the FOP mob to do the count for that just to confirm the information. I love the fact that Kevin Ordui is still listed on this team. So now I'm just hoping he's coming back.
Yeah, or we just need to figure out a way to, like, I know one of our fans would totally update info to them so that we can all check scores and something. It is pretty funny how they've never updated that.
He may go down as the only player to be in this club after 7 seasons. But having said that, and answering your question, it goes back to, again, it's this momentum. It's this on-ramping to the season that I think Kano really does recognize, that his team continues to gel later in the season, and that form has always been, just the thing that gets us to the Eastern Conference final in 2 seasons in a row. But like, what is that other thing? So many pundits are all asking the same question: can Rhode Island FC get a home playoff berth in 2026? No one's saying that we can't make playoffs. That conversation hasn't happened. Everyone's saying, how high up the table can we climb to potentially earn that? Which is interesting too, because when you look at the power rankings that Nicholas Murray released, we're like 14th, and I thought like maybe a week ago we were 6th. So obviously that's all subjective, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But this is a team that I think Kano needs to get traction way earlier in the season.
Yeah, I don't mind being somewhat of an underdog in that regards. I don't think we need to go through a season and be somewhat like a Louisville or Charleston, because we also haven't seen a lot of success from them in the postseason. I'd much rather love to see us hover somewhere between 7 and 5 with that prime striking distance, and let's say late August or September, to just find that groove that we've seen to find the last 2 seasons, to make that jump to like that third or fourth spot. Like you want to put yourself in a position to be in striking distance of that instead of crashing out too early or like getting injuries at the wrong time. You know, I would love to see that from the team this year. That would be the next step.
I agree. And I think, the curious thing will be if Kano, because he is a tinkerer, right? He's always trying to evolve his squad. It'll now be interesting because I think we've cut a significant number of payroll dollars. It'll be interesting to see, is there that one X factor player then that we go after in the midseason? Should we need it? Or are we doing more? Because I feel like we are doing right now, we are spending significantly less in payroll for this team than we did with losing, Maxi Rodriguez and Chico and not going out and getting another marquee player. I just don't think there's a single I don't even think like Leo Afonso is commanding that line charge of a price. It'll be interesting to see if he can do more with less and then have that emergency break glass fund if he needs it to then say, this is going to take us and win us the entire championship. I'm a wait and see guy, that, but I like what he's done. I think that these are all the right decisions we needed to make. And I think this team is significantly better than when we entered the offseason in 2025.
Absolutely. And maybe, like you said, the kind of break in case of emergency, I think maybe they're just looking to wait for the right player to be available.
Do you think they already have a target and it's like a post World Cup where he's not charged too many dollars, or it's an MLS guy that they know they just need to wait?
I think that they probably honed down what that profile is, and they probably have, like a short list. It's just, can you go out and get that player?
We shall see. But we do have to go to our final break. And when we return, we're going to be taking a look at the television announcements and how Rhode Island FC fits into the larger broadcast pattern for 2026, all here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entricket and Jason Carey.
All right, so to round things out here, Rhode Island FC officially announces its full TV broadcast schedule for the 2026 season, which includes a pair of nationally televised games on CBS Sports Network and an expanded slate of 15 home games locally aired on WPRI TV's My RITV. We've got 18 games on NESN this season, and it's going to be they're going to remain our regional broadcaster. But listen, at the end of the day, all 30 non-nationally televised games will be available on ESPN Select. I forgot they did the name change to that, and this was like a long time ago. Did you know that?
Absolutely not.
They announced this back in August of last year, but they didn't finish all the branding changes. I think they wanted to wait for like some of the annual stuff to kick over.
Which is insane, because I'm just thinking, I logged into the app like 2 weeks ago to watch a game, and I swear it still has the plus logo.
I mean, and maybe they're slow. I mean, what HBO is now HBO Max, HBO Max, like these things happen. But listen, this is a tremendous upgrade, and I think I know people probably want to see us spend the last 12 minutes of the show talking about the US LPA, and maybe we'll get to that a little bit. But like when we talk about this is that thing that's going to continue to spark the conversation of Rhode Island FC growing within its own territory, because it's still not there. And getting this kind of upgrade in your broadcast team and your broadcast structure is it's quietly one of the most important things that this club could do from a non on the pitch component this season.
Absolutely. In terms of making it more accessible for games, especially as a lot of the larger leagues in the world become more and more inaccessible. They're behind massive paywalls, get all these local deals so that people can actually watch their home team. Like, that's huge. But there's no big CBS games this season. And honestly,
Devin Kerr and Mike Watts said, don't make us go and talk about that game again. They're snooze fest. Rhode Island can't score in a big game.
Yeah. So in that regards, honestly, like, hey, let's take some time away from that. We'll put a pin in it. We'll circle back, and we'll find that later day. I mean, we've got though on CBS Sport Network, Brooklyn FC match, and of course an El Clamico match. So, I'm surprised the Prinks Cup didn't get picked up, especially after last year's against them.
What is the Prinks Cup? It's the Prinks Cup that is getting picked up. The problem is it's the away match. So we're getting a CBS Sports Network match in Hartford.
I mean, I guess you want to try and be fair and kind of balance those out.
But is that really the case? Because, and this is no shade to Hartford, they're the Brinks Cup champions, and that might be a factor as to why.
Maybe that's why.
But we've interviewed League HQ personnel, and they have gone on the record several times saying they want to put a spotlight on the infrastructure that the league has worked so hard to develop and invest in. Trinity Health Stadium compared to Centerville Bank Stadium, there is no comparison there.
Well,
Jason.
so that's probably why they're doing it for a cup match as opposed to, an actual league match then. Probably.
Well, I assumed it was either one of two things. It's because they are the current Jägermeister / Prinks champions, or they looked at it and said maybe these two teams play a little bit harder against each other when it's an immediate match of consequence versus it's a lot of league, it's a lot of season. So, because I mean, look at the big CBS game from last year, a 0-0, kind of like okay, and then red cards, 2-2 goes to PKs. Like all you got was Sialha doing Sialha things in the first game.
Yeah,
completely different experience if you went to that second El Clamico in Centerville Bank Stadium. I don't know. I don't think there's necessarily a wrong or right answer to it, but it is interesting that they would rather showcase Hartford with their fake tifos and their 4,000 fans than show Centerville Bank Stadium, one of the crown jewels of the USL right now.
Yeah, no, I totally get that in terms of, especially when you see some of these other clubs that really need to put that investment, showcase them on, the big screen and try and convince them like, no, this is the way forward.
Yeah. But I do want to jump into the bigger thing, I think, and that's still kind of going into the fact that WPRI is now hosting 15 games. So basically, that's the entire home season, right? Because there's 17 games in regular play because it's 30. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you count
it's the big Cup. CBS home game, and then it's Nesson getting the home opener. Other than that, the local TV station picking up those games, I really do think that that's one of the most important things that we can understand from this. Nesson, on the other hand, they'll be carrying the other 16 games that are away. So you're either basically kind of program your MyRITV for home, your Nesson for away, and if you already have ESPN Select, it doesn't matter because you're already taken care of. That consolidation is going to be huge. I know there's 3 games that will be for free on Golazo. I think they're the opposite of the Sports Network ones. I never remember. Do you know which one it is? Like you can't ever watch the replay of? Is it the Golazo games?
I think it is, unfortunately, the Golazo games.
So we need a hero that will always do the screen capture and record those Golazo matches, because those are always tough to find when it comes time to do the watchbacks. I always remember oh yeah, that's just not going to happen this time. I have to go strictly off of what my memory is telling me right now.
Yeah, always have to make sure we take better notes on those ones.
But in addition to, they also announced all of the playoff matches, right?
Yeah, the USL final was also announced in the broadcast release. Another Saturday 12 p.m. kickoff on November 21st. So should we just, put that in our calendars now?
Everyone should. And I'm not saying it's because we're going to win the whole thing, but you'd rather have that not taken up by some other thing like a birthday, an anniversary. Everyone needs to pre-program that and just be ready, because if we get to host a final, that means that a CBS match will be played in a CBS stadium for the first time ever in Rhode Island, maybe even New England. I don't know how many other stadiums might be CBS. And their initials.
CBS-ception.
I'm in for it. Listen, we can quickly touch on the USLPA. We are by no means experts on this stuff. It's kind of gotten a little dangerous, as just ahead of this recording, the USL issued a email to all of its players currently signed with a contract inside the USL Championship, informing them of what to do in the event of a strike or lockout, what they are entitled to, what they are not entitled to, and some provisions therein. A lot of people online saying this is a bad look, but reality is, in my other job that I do, this is just standard. This is what you do. You prepare for the worst, and should things fall apart, this is what will happen next, so people are informed. What's dangerous, Jason, is that they are now feeling like they need to get this out here, because we may be farther away from getting a CBA signed than we were all kind of hoping for.
Yeah, it's weird when you look at the two camps getting some mixed messages here, right? So the USL Championship in the last few weeks has been a lot more forthcoming and kind of going public with a lot of hey, this is where we've come to agreement on this. We're here and we're almost here on this other thing, and they're saying talks are going well. And I mean, with the season looming, you feel like they kind of have to. I mean, I think we finally, if I'm assuming that what the USL Championship is putting out there is truthful, we've hit that minimum $40,000 salary cap, right? I think they've gotten a lot better terms when it comes to medical, but there's still a few things that they're kind of ironing out. Whereas then the Players Association is like, well, we're still not where we want to be.
And here's the thing, even with their updates, the USLPA has debunked and refuted some of the points that the championship or league HQ has made. I think it does come down, the final salary floor feels like it's been kind of landed upon. I know that the season buyout clauses that they were concerned about have been eliminated. I think we got there. I feel like the final two are the health insurance structure. So the league wanting to offer club provided commitments, whereas the USLPA kind of wants to go the standardized approach and then have it similar to what everyone in the league office has from a healthcare offering. I know enough about this space that I'm kind of surprised they don't want to do it. When we talked to Connor Tobin, when we had our interview with him, he had told us that the only reason that might be a barrier is that Florida is a state that you can't have those types of contracts for individuals outside of the state of Florida. If that's what's getting in the way, they should find something to do to fix that. Because what I know about these types of healthcare offerings, it's usually cheaper to do an umbrella package and standardize it, and then everyone pays their share of that cost, versus having each club with a smaller employee roster trying to make its way through and navigate that space.
Yeah, that'd be a lot bigger of a hit on each owner individually, as opposed to just, having it all one across the league.
And then every someone said that they thought maybe that the clubs wouldn't pony up and pay, and then suddenly they could default on their contracts. This is the kind of stuff that I know some of the sickos that listen to the show really want to hear, but at the same time, we'll move past it. And I think the only other thing that I haven't seen them budge on is the commercial licensing and what do those payments look like for USL Championship players. The league put out some pretty damaging content around the players in the league don't have a minimum of 10,000 followers on social media. So licensing wise, they did offer some changes in revenue share for video game fees. But the USLPA initially asked for, I think, $1.6 million. And they only got paid 25,000. I think it was 25,000 for the first CBA, admitting that they had to give that up because there were other things that they needed to go after, like minimum floors for salary. Now they're coming back again. I think it's 1.6, maybe it's 1.2 million, but it's in the millions. And USL then they walked it back even further and said, we'll take 625,000. And the league doesn't seem to be wanting to budge on some of that money. And it's guys, that's 1/5 of the AC Boise expansion fee. What are we doing here? Atletico Dallas hasn't even played yet. Just take some of their money and do what you need to do for these players. Nobody wants a lockout, Jason. And do you think, I know we got a wrap, but do you think a lockout is coming? Is one looming, or in your heart of hearts, are we going to be able to play on this weekend?
I hope we do. But glass half full. I think maybe if we get it out of the way early in the season, if it starts to happen, it's much better to just get it done with right now, so that we can get into the rest of the season, get to the World Cup, and just kind of ride that hype train.
We'll have to see. It's going to be an interesting weekend, as no matter what, Rhode Island FC won't be playing next week on the show to kickstart our preparedness for our home opener, should we have one. We're going to have play-by-play caller Tommy Quinlan back on the show, as well as all of our listener comments and questions from last week. And then to preview the first ever Sporting Jacks, we're going to have the play-by-play caller for Sporting Jacks and Culpeper on the show. So look forward to both of those, and we'll catch you guys then.
Always a great time. We'll catch you guys later. Anchors up.
Anchors up.
You've been listening to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. You can follow the show on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok at RIFC Podcast and at Raising Anchor on Instagram. And be sure to check out and subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen by searching for Raising Anchor. Make sure to check out all of our coverage over at the Blazing Musket for all your New England soccer coverage, including RAFC news at theblazingmusket.com. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask you to be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the show. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm your main man, Juju. And on behalf of the Raising Anchor crew, goodbye for now. And as always, we are Rhode Island FC.